This is Paul Gazy once again. I'll be talking about Sushumna and the ego. The mind is the main tool of the ego. So when you are in the normal state of consciousness, that is when you're dwelling the Ida and Pingala, you find out that the mind has a lot of control over you. The ego can use the mind to make you do actions that you don't intend to do. However, when you get into the Sushumna, you find out that you have gotten behind the mind. And even though there are still thoughts, they do not bother you, or they cannot determine the action you take. What happens is that when you get into the Sushumna, you find out that another self has come forward. And this is what the books call the higher self. You realize that you now have another, that there's now another person in the equation. Now, what happens is that before awakening, you have no concept that another self exists in you. Before awakening, all you know is you identify with the ego as being yourself. But after awakening, the ego is shattered. That's why people go through a lot of difficulties after awakening, because the hold of the ego becomes shattered. And until you get into the Sushumna where a new self emerges, you will not be able to be effective in the world, because the identity you held on to, which is the ego, has been shattered in a way that you cannot recover its solidity anymore. So when you get to the Sushumna, the mind, there's still thoughts in the mind, but they do not bother you. And I've realized that most of the spiritual teachers, people who have opened what they call ashrams and the rest, most of them, and I'm saying this with so much authority, that most of the spiritual teachers are people who are in the Sushumna. They have not attained complete self-realization. Self-realization is when the ego completely leaves the body. But though most of the people who are doing spiritual teaching now are just in their, they are aware of their higher self or the Atma. Okay, and that's being aware of the Atma as living in the Sushumna. And that's the stage I'm in now. And there's still another stage to come. That's the stage where the thoughts disappear and the ego completely leaves, or is reabsorbed into the self. Thanks for watching. There's a quick video, and I hope you like it, and you can write your comments. Bless you.